Hello, welcome to Dinner and a Show on the Road. I am Brian, and so I have just started my Best Picture marathon since the Oscars were released last Tuesday. And ooh, I need some sunglasses. Ooh, there we go. These steampunk sunglasses. So yeah, I've started to try and complete and watch all of the Best Picture nominations for the 2017 Oscars, and I've watched 4 of them, now 5, and the latest one I watched was Hidden Figures, which is a wonderful, inspirational story of how racial equality gained a strong foothold in the race for space, focusing on the acts of 3 African-American women: Octavia Spencer, who plays Dorothy Vaughan, Taraji P. Henson, who plays Catherine Goebel, and Janelle Murray, sorry if I butchered that, as Mary Johnson. And they did a great job. The movie, obviously, it's the space race between the U.S. and the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union already sent a man in space, and, John F. Kennedy is kind of ticked about that, and he wants a man in orbit as soon as possible. Well, Kevin Costner plays Mr. Harrison. He's kind of the head of the whole, just engineering of getting the people into space. And Jim Parsons plays an engineer, like a head engineer over there. And so anyway, they're trying to get the numbers, and they can't really do it. So or at least they're not all the way there. So of course they need help, and so they have to cross the racial barrier to do that, because Catherine is a genius. And so it's just really cool to see. What can I say? The performances of this movie were terrific. I believe the story was mostly Catherine's story, as the majority of the film focuses on her and her achievements and what she had to go through. I don't think NASA was completely unracist, by the end of the film. There was still some, tension, a lot of tension, but they sure as heck made a lot of progress by the end of the movie. We saw Catherine struggle, because she had to pretty much walk half a mile to go to the restroom and back, because there were no colored women restrooms in her building when she got reassigned to Mr. Harrison's department. And when Mr. Harrison found out, why she couldn't stay in her seat all the time, well, yeah, he tore those colored bathroom signs down, because he's like, we all be the same color, which I thought was fantastic. And yeah, I'm just driving all over the place. So yeah, we see her journey, and her finally gaining the respect of quite a few people over there. The guy who plays Colonel John Glenn, I want to say his name is Glenn Powell. He's a very nice and likable character. He doesn't care about race. He cares about whether he's going to be in orbit safely or not. Not to say that he doesn't, like, or that he was racist. He was probably he was the nicest white guy in the entire movie. Kevin Costner's character, Mr. Harrison, was a little timid. Sure, he had to be pushed to make progress at NASA when it came to racial equality, by Catherine, by other people. And Jim Parsons, I will give him credit. He did a fantastic job in the movie, because this was the first time that I could not stand him. Oh my gosh, he was despicable. Because, yes, he cared for his country and everything like that, but, because Catherine was a woman, because she was black, he would not give her complete information. She couldn't do her job completely. And there was a lot of frustration, and she finally had to go to Mr. Harrison and tell him to, be the boss, and to make, to have her in those, classified meetings and everything like that, so that, she can do her job correctly, because she knows she's the best. Mary Johnson, she was an engineer, and she needed to take a class at an all-white school, because that was the only school that offered it. Because NASA was pushing the finish line, as she said, for for the employees over at NASA. They had to take extra classes. And, so she had to take that, and she was able to accomplish that. So, her story was pretty short. And then Octavia Spencer's character, Dorothy Vaughan, she wanted to be a supervisor, because, she's been doing the supervisor position ever since, their former one, disappeared, or, got sick. Yeah, that's what it was. So she's been doing all the work, and she wants the supervisor's pay. Well, because she was black, and because she's a woman, it's very hard for that to, happen. So, she had to fight that battle. There are other characters. Kirsten Dunst plays a supervisor that, Octavia bounces off of. And I think they had some, she plays the character that thinks that she's not being racist, and that she's just doing what she's told. But Dorothy makes sure that, that she is being racist. And it was just very interesting to see that. And I don't even think Jim Parsons learns anything, or Paul, I think that's his name. I don't think Paul learns anything by the end of the movie. I think that he has a sort of silent respect for her work, but that's about it. I don't think that he truly has any respect, or I don't think he is ever gets over his racism of Catherine. Maybe, I don't know. That's kind of what I got from the movie. All of the performances were fantastic. It's very hard to, play a racist, if you're not, and to be a very despicable character. And if the audience, believes that you're being a despicable racist, then, they did their job, It was pretty crazy. It was very frustrating to see all the racism that was happening, and I can't imagine, what it was like back then. I was very mad, and I was very frustrated at what they had to go through just to get recognized. And what was interesting is that, they didn't protest. They weren't doing the protests. They weren't going to the marches. They didn't do that. They worked within the system to be known and to be heard. And that was really cool, in just a side that we don't really see every now and then. Birth of a Nation and Selma, those were from the protest side. We see a lot of those. But, Hidden Figures is very cool, and it's about time that Hollywood, or just we as a nation, recognize these people for their hard and tremendous work for our country, and for the accomplishments that they did in space travel. I was, because I didn't even know that they did this until this movie was released, or was announced, and I saw the trailers. I was like, oh, wow, this is so cool. So it was really, really awesome to just to see this story, and just a part of our history that either we've ignored or forgotten. And I'm glad that I watched this movie, so I can do that. Just know a part of our history. I will say that I didn't really care for the music. I liked the gospel songs that they added in the track. I mean, that was really cool. But just the music was very bland. I mean, it was just kind of the type of the typical thinking music that you would hear to, Catherine solving equations, or, if something, progressive happens, like turning knocking the colored women restroom only sign down. I mean, you get your typical, flare of instruments coming up. I mean, I was like, what? Nothing really stood out to me from there. So, yeah, kind of bland music if you like film soundtracks, which I love. I mean, that was how I got into into this. Playing violin and just playing film music. I mean, so it was important to me. I guess that was probably the main thing. I don't think the movie had any huge artistic, stuff in there. I mean, I liked how they used actual footage of NASA's launches. During the movie, because it actually happened, so it was really cool. And towards the end credits, we get to see what happened to Dorothy, Catherine, and Mary, throughout their lives. We get to see their family lives, too. The movie balances that out really well. Yeah, because I mean, they have lives outside of NASA. I mean, surprisingly, even during the space race. Catherine was a widow, and then she meets, I think his name is either Joe or John. Sorry. Yeah, so I was very, very glad that they balanced that out. I mean, all three of them were married, and we all got to see their kids and stuff, and just how the racism affected their families and their kids and everything like that. So yeah, I really enjoyed the movie. I don't know why I was thinking it would be a little more artistic, just because it was a Best Picture nomination. Artistic, mean editing choices or anything like that, but I mean, this was a very well told story, and the performances were fantastic. I believe Octavia Spencer and Janelle Murray. Sorry if I'm sorry I'm butchering Janelle's name. I think those performances were nominated, or Taraji P. Henson. I think 2 out of the 3 are nominated, so whichever one, or of the 2, they're all fantastic. I'm gonna give this film a very high 5. I believe it deserves to be in the nominated category. I don't think it's gonna win. I mean, if it does, I wouldn't be surprised, because it does tell a very powerful story of how the African American community were vital into America's space race against the Soviet Union. I don't think it's going to win. I have a strong feeling that it's either La La Land or Moonlight that's going to win. I can't wait to watch Moonlight, by the way, just to see how it is. It's probably one of the highest critically acclaimed movies of 2016. So anyway, those are my thoughts about it. We have a lot more reviews coming up. The Best Picture nominations, I have, I think, 4 more to go. So I will see you at the movies.